Good morning, everyone. Hi, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is subscribed. It's good to have you back here again for yet another live broadcast. It's a bright and beautiful Friday morning, and yeah, it's good to have you back. Apologies, we're a bit late, about a quarter an hour late, because I'd hoped we would get this done at about 10:30 a.m. But I got caught up with a few things here and there. So kindly bear with me as I test out our audience so that we do not have a false start, and then we will get things all started as soon as possible, because there's plenty for us to talk about in this broadcast, including Barcelona being becoming champions of the Spanish La Liga. So we're going to be talking that and more. So I think our audience are good to go as far as that test is concerned. So let me wait for you guys to join in. I need to get this link. Excuse me. I'm waiting for you guys to join the broadcasts. Waiting for you guys to join the broadcast, and really plenty to talk about. There's plenty to talk about. There is plenty to talk about. I'm waiting for you guys to join the broadcast. I'm waiting for you guys to join the broadcasts. I'm waiting for you guys to join in on the broadcast so that we can have the conversation started. But I'm glad for those of you that are here. Again, apologies. Yesterday we were unable to do our late evening or late night broadcast. There's a document I was pouring over that had a deadline to it that I had to beat. So I didn't finish it on time, and I thought, and that's what barred us from being here. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back. In our topics today, we'll be discussing Barcelona being crowned champions, Hansi Flick being handed a new contract. Then we'll talk about their domestic treble, still Liverpool drawing closer to completing a deal for Jeremy Frimpong. That is in the pipeline. Real Madrid and Dinhausen, that we've spoken about quite extensively. And then Chelsea are interested in a Crystal Palace player. We'll be talking a little bit about that. And then obviously, there are Premier League fixtures tonight there are Premier League fixtures that are taking place tonight because of that UEFA Europa League final that is coming up in a bit. That's on Wednesday. So we're going to be talking about that and much more. So in today's broadcast. So kindly join the conversation and let's get it all underway. In as far as morning sport is concerned on Football Tribe, here with your usual suspect, Robert Kesakos. It's about 5 minutes, and still waiting for you guys to join in. I do not want to be doing this alone, unfortunately. But yeah, let's get the conversation started. Let's get the conversation started because we really need to get going. I'm waiting for some of you, my colleagues, to join me in a bit, and we discuss, everything sport, everything sport. It's all about football on Football Tribe UG. Of course, Lamine Yamal denying that, saying he cannot compare himself to Lionel Messi. That's the goat, really. But anyways, let's get it all started because yesterday, like we had spoken previously, Barcelona were just in the need of just a single victory to be confirmed as the Spanish La Liga champions to dethrone Real Madrid, who they dominated throughout the entire campaign. And yesterday they did complete that action by beating up against Espanyol by 2-0. Of course, Espanyol did receive a red card in that game that was given to Cabrera. That was in the 80th minute, but that notwithstanding, they had Barcelona were already in the lead thanks to a Lamine Yamal goal in the 53rd minute with Dani Olmo providing the assist. So with that 10-man advantage, at least for Barcelona, following that red card to Espanyol to Cabrera, then they went on to find the second goal that is deep in stoppage time through Fermin Lopez, with Lamine Yamal providing the assist. So yesterday, once again, the 17-year-old shining bright like a knighting armor with a goal and an assist as Barcelona clinched their 28th La Liga title. I mean, it's been quite an incredible season for them. And I think it was about match day 15 or 14 when I went on to as far as say that they may as well give Barcelona the Spanish La Liga title because it looked they were going to all the way to win it. Of course, they did have their slump in form or a blip, and that sort of brought the likes of Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid at some point back into the title conversation, but they've been able to wither that all across the season, and they've gone on to win that title. So winning the Spanish La Liga yesterday after beating Espanyol in the Catalan derby by 2-0 means that they have completed a domestic double, having beaten up against Real Madrid, I think by 5-2 to win the Super Copa Espana, and then later on beating up against the same side by 3-2 after extra time to win the Copa del Rey. So that means they have clinched the domestic double in Hans Flick's first season at the club. So, and it is upon that basis that Barcelona have chosen to reward him by extending his contract. Remember, he did sign a 2-year contract when he joined the club, and that first contract was due to end on June 30th, 2026, but it has been extended up until June 2027. So you'll be seeing the German gaffer around at least for the next 2 years or so, depending on how results go. Then Deco was speaking, that's their sporting director. I hope that's the actual title, but he was speaking and saying they are not looking to let go of any players, but they are looking to make additions in order to build an even better squad to compete favorably for next season. Is silverware. We all know that we were disappointed with that semi-final exit at the hands of Inter Milan. So they will be looking for better fortunes next season, and that means they need to invest better, especially in their defense, where they wanted to rival Bayern Munich for the signature of Jonathan Tah, the 29-year-old German defender. But it looks like Bayern Munich are leading the rest for that free agent. We'll wait to see if they make any other moves in the market, but be sure that one of their priority positions will be strengthening their backline, but they've also mentioned that they could be in the market for a goalkeeper, a young goalkeeper. Remember, they do have Wojciech Szczesny as well as Andre Stegen, both of whom are quite edgy or edging out. Szczesny having been pulled out of retirement following a very long spell injury to Andres Stegen. So, and they are looking, I think, to rival Arsenal, according to reports, for the signature of the Espanyol goalkeeper in Joan Garcia. But again, we'll wait to hear more on that as it develops. Then, so after that domestic treble, it's been quite a marvelous season really for Hansi Flick, who's really relied so much on the young players, the likes of Lamine Yamal, Pau Kubasi, Cardoso, you know, and some of those players that he's really given a lot of game time. I think I was looking at Lamine Yamal and I'm wondering, how is he played so many games, so many minutes at just the age of 17? Because it was this season that he made his 100th appearance for Barcelona, and I think that was in the first leg of the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League against Inter Milan. And for a 17-year-old to have already clinched 100 appearances for Barcelona is quite incredible. So that's there. Anyways, before stepping away from the Spanish La Liga, there were some other results yesterday night, and Osasuna beat up against Atletico Madrid by 2-0, while Rayo Vallecano and Rayo Betis did share the spoils in a 2-all draw, while Athletic Bilbao beat up against Getafe by 2-0. So that's as far as the Spanish La Liga is concerned. Then moving away from that, let's speak a bit of transfers, just a little bit of it. Liverpool are in pole position to complete the signing of Jeremy Frimpong, that is from Bayer Leverkusen, the right back, for about 35 to 40 million euros. Because the reason as why I say between 35 and 40 million euros is because some sources report 35 and other sources report up to as much as 40 for his release clause that Liverpool are willing to pay. And according to the Athletic's David Austin, he says personal terms won't be an issue. So Liverpool are looking to close that deal as they find a replacement for Alexander Trent-Arnold, who is destined for also a prime move to Real Madrid this summer. Speaking of Real Madrid, they are equally, it is just a matter of when and not if for them to complete the signing of Dinhausen from AFC Bournemouth for £50 million. We all know that this week they did activate that release clause of £50 million. They informed Bournemouth that they will be willing to pay the £50 million, and they did agree, at least in principle, on a schedule for having that money paid in 3 installments, and that will be the money will be completed before the end of 2026. Of course, Real Madrid in that get to beat 3 Premier League suitors in Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea, who are really interested in signing the Spanish defender. But it's been widely reported that Real Madrid is a dream move for him, and Xabi Alonso is reported to have requested Real Madrid to expedite that transfer ahead of the FIFA Club World Cup, which will be his first tournament in which he gets to tutor this Real Madrid side. It's going to be quite a hot start for Xabi Alonso, I must say, because it's not very often that a new manager comes in at the end of the season and their first task is, is guiding a team in a competition the magnitude of the new FIFA Club World Cup that has a total of 32 teams. So again, we'll wait to see how that goes for him. I think it's going to rob him, Xabi Alonso, a full-blown preseason in which he would get to assess his players, in which he would get to identify more gaps in the squad, and not to say that Real Madrid have not already identified those, but for him to get a grasp of at least every player, the Brahim Diaz, Adagula, Rodrigo Goes, Kylian Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Junior, and all that composition, Dani Ceballos in midfield, Tchouameni, Camavinga. Now, it goes without saying that some of these have injuries, like Camavinga is injured, Eder Militao, David Alaba, and some of these players are injured. So again, it doesn't give him the full picture to assess the squad, but at least he did request Real Madrid to expedite that process to sign Dinhausen. That means Real Madrid may have to cool their interest in Arsenal's William Saliba, at least for as far as this summer is concerned. But they had also already deemed the deal too expensive to pull off, and with the player still having 2 years left to his current Arsenal contract, and Arsenal opening top contract talks in to renew the 24-year-old Spanish defender's contract with the Gunners. So that is that. Then still transfers briefly. Chelsea are interested in signing Ebelechi Eze from Crystal Palace. Now, Ebelechi Eze is one of those very good playmakers. He predominantly plays as a 10 in that role, but I think he has the capabilities to play as an 8. He's good with his feet in terms of dribbling, driving the ball forward. He's good with a brilliant pass. Once in a while, he will give you a brilliant free kick. He's an all-round good player. At 26 years of age, he's really come of age, and I think he's primed for to play in a better or bigger team. Whether he can stand or contend with the pressure that comes with playing for a bigger team, that remains to be seen. But at least as far as we are concerned, there's a number of clubs that are monitoring this situation at Crystal Palace, and Chelsea are among those. Arsenal have been mentioned in that conversation, but I get the feeling that he's a player that they've monitored for quite a bit. But for as far as this summer is concerned, I get the feeling that it's more of a wishful thinking from the fans' side of view that they do sign a player like Ebelechi Eze. And maybe we'll see when the transfer window does open. Then maybe the other player that has been talked about plenty in recent times has been João Pedro of Brighton and Hove Albion, being linked with a potential move to Arsenal. I think it was Sam Dean of the Telegraph that did break that story. So we'll wait to see whether that is concrete or whether Arsenal make their interest concrete. So João Pedro is a very good player, but like Matthias Cunha is a bit hot-headed, and I think Arsenal, having received the most number of red cards this season, as many as 6, may need to keep their players in check, although none of them have been out of indiscipline. Many of them have been questionable red cards, and then some of them have been, fouls that are not out of, player frustration and reaction, as opposed to the couple of incidences we've seen with João Pedro and Matthias Cunha. They do have that mental outburst that gets them into bad situations with officials. But again, we'll wait to see how all that does, open up for Arsenal and those that are interested in signing João Pedro, and whether Brighton would be even willing to let him go. But it is speculated that he will be an affordable buy, anywhere between 30 to about 45 million pounds could be enough to tempt the player away from the Amex Stadium. So that's that. But then Chelsea are also interested in signing Hugo Ekitike, the 22-year-old French striker that plays for Eintracht Frankfurt. Very, very brilliant player. Some have described him as the Wembanyama of football. So for those of you that are familiar with that's a basketball in the USA, I'm sure the name Wembanyama does ring a bell. So he's played about 47 games across the entire spell this season and scored 22 goals and provided 11 assists across all competitions, 15 of those goals coming in the league, in the German Bundesliga. So that gives him a total contribution of about 33 goals out of 47 games. I think that is quite commendable for a striker of his age. He has the height, he has a good ball control and hold-up play. Very decent player. And again, I've seen him being recommended for many clubs that are looking for a striker. He's been recommended for Liverpool, and in fact, as per Code Offside, it is reported that both Liverpool and Chelsea are all interested in signing Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. But we'll wait to see how that goes down in as far as transfers do go, because we just about 14 or 15 days left until the opening of the summer transfer window. Remember, it's going to be open in early June until June 10th to allow teams that are going to feature in the FIFA Club World Cup to sign, make some deals, and then it will be closed and then we'll open on the June of 16th. That's was because that tournament does kick off, I think, on June 13th. It's something we've discussed about before on this channel. So keep your eyes peeled for that kind of action in as far as summer football is concerned. I think we'll leave all that at that and then get to discuss the Premier League, because tonight there are two fixtures that will be coming on our screens at 9:45 p.m. That's when Aston Villa entertain Tottenham Hotspurs at Villa Park, and then later on at about 10:15 p.m. East African time when Chelsea welcome Manchester United. Now, from on the onset, or the easier thing to say would be that Aston Villa will beat Tottenham Hotspurs, Chelsea will beat Manchester United. That's the easy thing to say. And the justification for it is, for me, is that I do think, without an ounce of doubt, that both Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspurs are likely to field weaker teams as opposed to their own liking. Not that fielding stronger teams would help their Premier League situation any better, but they are playing these fixtures on Friday night to give them a bit of more time to prepare for the finals of the UEFA Europa League that will be played next week on Wednesday at San Mamés. So guys, if you're just joining us, kindly like the broadcast and also leave me a comment. You can let me know where you're joining us from, so that you know, we can continue to go with you. But thank you so much for being on the broadcast. But before we proceed, I wanted to let you know on an offer, a very, very brilliant offer, especially for some of you that may be interested in learning some soft skills like coding, like software development, that's web design, as well as cyber security. This is a brilliant offer from Ebo State. They are based in Kansanga, Kampala, Uganda. They are giving you a 5% discount if you sign up this month. So Ebo State, they are equipping you with soft skills. That's in coding, in cyber security, as well as web design, and those are in demand, you know, soft skills globally. So I'll leave their link down in the description of this particular broadcast so that you can check them out after the broadcast, and they help you find, you know, jobs in the global market after your training, because they do offer in person and online digital skilling sessions, as well as career guidance. So be sure to check them out. So that and leverage on that offer, or check them out and see if it's something that you do want to add to your, you know, bucket of skills and help you on your way in your career. Anyways, back speaking to the Premier League. So I mean, for Aston Villa have all the motivation that they need to go ahead and win this game against the Tottenham Hotspurs that are not just out of form, but they've not had it for a while, because they've lost 4 of their last 5 Premier League games. So we cannot say that they've even had it. And what the biggest motivation for Aston Villa is what that means on the Premier League table if they were able to go ahead and win today's fixture, because it would elevate them to as high as 4th place with just a game left to spare in their pursuit to finish within the top 5 and a slot in next season is UEFA Champions League. So that's the biggest motivation. So when you look at Tottenham, and not to mention they've had so many injuries this season, and even as we speak, it's reported that James Maddison, Dijak Kulusevski, Lucas Bagville, some of those players that will be missing out on that final against Manchester United in the UEFA Europa League at San Mamés, and next week on Wednesday, that's on the 21st of Wednesday. So I think Ange Postecoglou was speaking, I think, in a pre-match press conference ahead of this particular fixture, and they asked him whether he's concerned or worried about his players getting injured, and he said he would be better off wrapping them in cotton for as long as he can afford to preserve them for that final. And again, we'll wait to see, but it's there, unfortunately. So I think with that in mind, he cannot afford to field or risk fielding his best players for this particular game. Because even if they won it, it wouldn't really take them anywhere on the Premier League table because they are, at 17th. The best it could do is take them as high as 15th, above West Ham, because it would take them at about 41 points, which, I mean, it wouldn't still make much of a difference for them. And it's on that basis that I think they will feel a very, very weak team in comparison to competing with this Aston Villa side, who, by the way, they managed to beat up against in the first leg at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium by 4-1. But the Tottenham that beat Aston Villa at that point of the season is a much changed Tottenham Hotspurs as far as this season is concerned, or as far as their cup has gone, because at the start of the season they had that cup, going up, and I think it has sunk to the lowest in recent times. Like I said, only one draw in the last 5 Premier League games, and the rest of the other 4 are defeats, including losing to Crystal Palace in their last Premier League outing by 2-0. Ebelechi is scoring against them and going ahead to laugh at them. And then, of course, in there, they afforded themselves a 1-1 draw against West Ham United, but lost to Liverpool terribly by 5-1, lost to Nottingham Forest, as well as Wolverhampton Wanderers, losing by 2-1 and 4-2, respectively, in those fixtures. And then, in comparison, on the other side is that Aston Villa have been winning their games, at least winning 4 of the last 5, but that lost to Manchester City, in which they lost by 2-1, quite in a disappointing fashion, because they conceded a very, very late goal to Matthias Nunes, is the one that scored that goal in the 94th minute to Jeremy Doku, providing that brilliant assist. And you could see the disappointment on Unai Emery's face at the time because of what the game meant to them. At least he would have been better off walking away with the points in that game. It did not happen for them, but they counted their losses and moved on. And ever since then, they've beaten up against Fulham and FC Bournemouth by 1-0 each. But previously, they had also beaten up against Newcastle by 4-1, as well as Southampton by 3-0. And then in between there, that is when the Man City loss came. So like I said, winning today's fixture would elevate them to 4th place with a tally of 66 points, level with Newcastle, who are 3rd place, because Newcastle over the weekend, they do have a date with Arsenal in Arsenal's final game of the season at the Emirates Stadium. So with that in context, maybe Aston Villa are thinking to themselves, we can let's win a game, move closer to Newcastle in 4th place, and hope that Arsenal can beat up against Newcastle over the weekend, and maybe on the final day we get to do it all and maybe even finish as high as that. But again, in as far as the rest for the top 5 finish in the Premier League is concerned, there are so many moving parts, because Chelsea, who are up against Manchester United, equally have the similar opportunity. If they have beat up against Manchester United, they can move as high as even 3rd or 4th, depending on how many goals they can score in that particular fixture. So it's a very, very important game for Aston Villa. I mean, we cannot equate its importance to Aston Villa to the importance it carries on for Tottenham. And I think I was watching, what's his name? I'm forgetting his name, but he's one of those Premier League legends. I think it was Martin Keown who was having a conversation on TalkSport, and he said, when did we get to a position where players and managers or clubs choose and pick what games to compete in and what games not to compete in? Because that's what it has felt really, especially for Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United, that they've sort of doubled down on their competition in the Premier League and put all their efforts in the UEFA Europa League. But then there were also questions of whether you count your season as good as done and then give a chance to young academy players that maybe they could show a bit of character and then get into the fold of the first team the following season, or even earn themselves a good move away from the club, maybe on loan, or even sell them for good money in that kind of sense. So all that there is to think about. But in as far as the last 5 fixtures are concerned, there will be no draws between these two sides. Tottenham have won 2 of those fixtures, while Aston Villa have won all the other 3, and that includes the 4-1 victory for Tottenham Hotspurs in the first leg of this season, as well as beating Aston Villa away from home last season by 4-0. Other than that, Tottenham Hotspurs had not beaten up against Aston Villa in their previous 3 games. So with that in mind, with the injuries that Tottenham Hotspurs have to contend with what the game means to Aston Villa, I do think that Aston Villa are going to go ahead and win this game. And it's a game that often promises us plenty of goals, in as far as whoever scores first usually tends to run away with the game. So we expect a very strong starting level from Aston Villa. Emiliano Martinez in goal, Matty Cash, Ezri Konsa, Pau Torres, maybe Ian Matson, Boubacar Kamara, and Amadou Onana, Marco Asensio, Morgan Rogers, John McGinn, or what's his name, and then Oli Watkins to lead the lines in that sense. Of course, Aston Villa themselves do have an injury in Marcus Rashford, Yuri Tillemans, as well as Jacob Ramsey, who has a red card. That one is suspended. Tottenham Hotspurs, like I said, Dijak Kulusevski, James Maddison, Scarlett, then Draxon, Radu Draxon. That's a defender, and well as Lucas Bagby. They are all out through injury. So, like I said, maybe it will be Guillermo Vicario in goal for Tottenham Hotspurs, and these are probable lineups: Destin Udogi, Pedro Porro, Mickey van de Ven, Christian Romero, Yves Bissouma, Rodrigo Bentancur, Pepe Matsa, Son Heung-min. This one is returning back from injury, Dominic Solanke, and Brennan Johnson. Now, it can go either of 2 ways, that Tottenham give the players they think will play in the final a bit of a chance for this to be a warm-up game. But again, even if that were to be the case, you do not expect the player commitment. I think they play with that bit of reservation, fearing not to get injured in preparation, because they want to play in that final. They want to be there in the final. So you do not want to risk it too much to get injured in this game and miss out on the final. I think that's the catch-22. But again, we expect to see maybe the likes of Matthias Tel in this kind of fixtures. Maybe Dija Space gets to start ahead of Destin Udogi, and those kinds of changes. Depending on what players are available for Ange Postecoglou's selection. But that's the expectation. Anyway, let's move away from that game between Aston Villa and Tottenham Hotspurs and look at Manchester United versus Chelsea. Again, the circumstances are really quite similar in respect to what we just discussed in the other game, because Manchester United, I mean, you're down in the trenches. And as far as the Premier League table is concerned, you're 16th on the Premier League table. And I can't believe I'm saying it. 16th and 17th on the Premier League table are meeting in the finals of the UEFA Europa League. Every time I talk about this, it feels as funny as it is sad, especially for their fans. I mean, Ruben Amorim was saying he feels embarrassed every time he looks at the Premier League table and sees where Manchester United are. Only 6 victories in 25 Premier League games that he's managed this club. Is it 25, 20? I think even 26 games, in fact. So he feels embarrassed. And yet, shamelessly, we still have Manchester United fans that think or feel that they can still afford themselves banter with their Premier League rivals, whether it's Chelsea, whether it's Newcastle, whether it's Arsenal. Of course, they can't do it with Liverpool because Liverpool are champions, but and all the others in between. I'm like, really? You should be bantering yourselves with Tottenham, and because you're in the same basket, you're nowhere in the discussion with the rest of the other teams because of how bad a season you've had. So he says he feels embarrassed and he hopes that they can do better next season. And he said if they cannot do better next season, he would be happy to relinquish his duties and United find somebody else, because it would mean that they would have failed at their job. But it also says it's not really just about the football. It's so many things that need to be changed around the current, around Manchester United, maybe including getting rid of a mice infestation at the club, being one of those, because Old Trafford is infested with mice. Hi, Paul Chigozi and Gregory, Manchester United fans there, esteemed Manchester United fans. I hope you get to see this, but I think you should be running to the British consulate or embassy to ask for visas to go to Old Trafford and help Manchester United deal with the rat infestation that they are dealing with at the moment, that they need to get rid of. Hi, my friend Herbert. Herbert is another Manchester United fan, and Kato Morris, another Manchester United fan. I hope you guys can secure yourself some visas and go help Manchester United fight the rat infestation. But anyways, banter aside, like I said, the motivations for Chelsea are similar to the motivations for Aston Villa coming into this game. While for Manchester United, there's nothing like motivation coming into this game, other than using it as a warm-up game in preparation for the final of the Europa League. And then again, it begs the question: if you're Ruben Amorim, do you risk your senior players that you think should be starting in that game, or do you give them a rest? So you start them off on the bench and look to bring them on in maybe for the last 30-20 minutes to get that bit of warm-up in a competitive game. Again, that for me would be the expectation, and I expect for Manchester United again to feel a much weaker team compared to what they may intend to field when it comes to the finals of the UEFA Europa League. Remember, their last outing, in as far as the UEFA League final is concerned, they lost on penalties. It was 11-10 against Villarreal. For those of you that remember, that preceded a 1-1 draw after extra time. Gerard Moreno scoring for Villarreal, as well as Edson Cavani scoring for Manchester United. That was in 2021. So, I mean, that's it, really, between these two sides. And like again I said, you think Chelsea have all the motivation? They are at home. They are facing off with Manchester United, a team that gives them a lot of headache and trouble. I must say, it's the Chelsea versus Manchester United game feels like Liverpool versus Manchester United, because even when Man United are in a bad form, sometimes somehow they can afford getting a good result, and we saw that this season against Liverpool when they got that 2-2 draw against Liverpool, and then we also saw that against Chelsea this season when they got that 1-1 draw. Maybe at the time, and that was as early as November 3rd, the situation wasn't as bad as it is today, because I think Erik ten Hag was still in charge, because we're talking about November. Because I think Ruben Amorim's first game was against, I think it was against, was it against Ipswich in that 1-1 draw, and then he faced off with Arsenal in the FA Cup and managed to knock them out. I can see Aishi says hi. Hi, Aishi. Thank you for joining the broadcast. Love from India. Much appreciated, Aishi. I kindly like the broadcast, and also if you're new here, kindly consider subscribing. How is India? I love India so much because they've really supported me, really. Boss Royal, hi, how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel and to today's broadcast. Much appreciated for the love and support, really. The thing I like about Indians, or the people from India, is that they will really support you, even when they do not know you. They really support you, and many of them have been my subscribers. Many of them join my live broadcasts, and they engage when they come to these broadcasts, and I really appreciate their love and support. But thank you so much. Peace and love are from Kampala, Uganda, here, where we are coming to you live in today's broadcast. So, but Boss Royal is also one of our usual suspects here that normally comes in and chips in with some submissions. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions about transfers and things pertaining to clubs, do not hesitate to, ask them down in the comment section, and we can get to discuss them. But like I was saying, it's oftentimes a very tricky fixture when United and Chelsea meet. It's not as straightforward as one would think it, because when you look at the last 5 meetings between these two sides, Chelsea have only won once. They've been 2 draws, and United have won the other 2 engagements, and that was the 1-1 draw earlier on this season. Last season, United beat Chelsea at Old Trafford by 2-1, while Chelsea won the reverse fixture by 4-3 at Stamford Bridge. And then the season before that, United beat up against Chelsea by 4-1, while the reverse fixture had been a 1-1 draw. So that kind of sort of tells you. But like I say, Chelsea find Manchester United in a totally different position as of today. Yes, when it comes to big games, sometimes pedigree or history trumps over anything regarding form, and that will be a similar expectation. But the way Chelsea have been sort of slicing through their previous games before their loss to Newcastle last weekend, of course they did fall down to 10 men due to that red card that was handed to Nicholas Jackson for an elbow on Steven Botman, and they ended up losing by 2-0. Beyond that, they had won their last 3 consecutive games, beating up against teams like Fulham by 2-0, then beating up against Everton by 1-0, as well as beating up the champions in Liverpool by 3-1. And then if you wind it further a little back, their last had been a 2-2 draw against Ipswich. And again, that game against Ipswich is the one that tells you that even as big as a goal that they do have, Chelsea, in pursuing, they can falter against an unlikely opponent and against an unlikely suspect. Just in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Europa League, after winning away, they came against Legia Warszawa and lost at Stamford Bridge by 2-1. So they are capable of, giving you that kind of result on any given day. And that, for me, is the worry, that even when Manchester United were to field a weaker team, they can still surprise Chelsea, and they can still surprise us and get a good result against Chelsea. And that's what I find odd. And never mind that when it came to the finals, of course, they won their games home and away 4-1 and 1-0 against Jagadi to advance to the semi-finals of the UEFA Conference League, in which they meet Real Betis of Spain. That game will be played on May 28th, and then the finals of the UEFA Champions League on May 31st. That will be Saturday. So, anyways, that's as far as Chelsea's recent form is concerned. On the tally of Manchester United, again, it's not any different from the tally of Tottenham Hotspurs. It's just 1 row in their last 5. The rest have been losses. They've lost to West Ham by 2-0. That was last weekend. Another surprise, not surprising, but another bad result in the books of Manchester United, or from any optics kind of look of things. And then previous to that, they lost 4-3 against Brentford in a game that I thought they tried to compete, although their competition or their efforts came a bit much later on in the game. Of course, they had gone in the lead through Mason Mount, who some of the players who I do expect to start today's game. Mason Mount, maybe Amadou Diallo, in that kind of sense. So their last good result was the 1-2 draw against FC Bournemouth, and prior to that they had lost Newcastle 4-1, and then after Newcastle they lost to Wolverhampton Wanderers by 0-0. So their form is as poor as that of as Tottenham Hotspurs, and that's why one is 17th and the other is 16th. It says it all. They are just poor. And even when I believe that they are capable of going to Stamford Bridge and get a good result, I cannot expect for them to get anything beyond a draw. And given Chelsea's current motivations, I do not think they will even get the draw. I think they will get beat by 2-1. I think for Aston Villa, my prediction is a 3-1 victory for Aston Villa, beating Tottenham Hotspurs, and a 2-1 victory for Chelsea over Manchester United. Maybe the score could be more, but at least the expectation is that Chelsea will win and Aston Villa will win. Now, if Chelsea win today's fixture, That takes them to 66 points, still level with Newcastle. But Chelsea have they need to score at least 4 goals or more against Manchester United. With Manchester United not scoring for them to move above Newcastle, because Newcastle would still have a superior goal difference even if Chelsea were to win by just 2-1. So again, if Chelsea win that game, they move fourth, and that means Aston Villa drop to 50th place on the Premier League clock as they wait for Man City to play. So it's a bit of a tight crowd in there between second place and the seventh place team in Nottingham Forest, because Nottingham Forest are just a point behind Aston Villa. So that's the context of things in as far as those fixtures are concerned. Those are my predictions. Do let me know what your thoughts are, and let me hear back from you whether you have any predictions, whether you have any submissions regarding those particular fixtures, regarding all the things that we've had to discuss in the course of this broadcast, including Barcelona being crowned champions and of Spain to go and to win their 28th La Liga title, and then complete the domestic double of the Copa del Rey, Supercopa Hispana, beating Real Madrid at least home and away in the Spanish La Liga and in the other two competitions in the finals, respectively. And then we talked about Liverpool edging closer to signing Jeremy Frimpong. Real Madrid are going to sign Dean Howson. That's just a matter of when, not if. And then we've spoken about Chelsea's interest in Hugo Ekitike, as well as Eberechi Eze. But Liverpool are also reported to be interested in Hugo Ekitike. According to a report by, I think, Court Offside, they say instead of Liverpool, going in at Newcastle and trying to spend 120 million pounds or even 130 million quid, why not look at a player like Hugo Ekitike and as your alternative? And again, we're going to see how that spans out. Then Luis, we've spoken about Hans Flick's new contract. There will be plenty more to talk about going forward. I hope today we'll find the time to do a broadcast. I think prior to the kickoff of these fixtures, we'll find a time and do a broadcast because the game against Tottenham Hotspur comes at 9:45 p.m. and then the game against Chelsea, between Chelsea and United, will come at about 10:15 p.m. East African time. So anyways, be sure to look out for that action and more. But maybe just briefly to remind you, do not forget about that exciting offer from Ebo State Africa. They are based in Kampala, Uganda. They do offer digital skills training in cybersecurity, in coding, and web design. They offer in-person training sessions as well as online skills training, career guidance, and they help you find jobs in the dynamic digital space. So if you're interested in learning those skills in cybersecurity, coding, and web design, do not hesitate to check them out. I'll leave a link down in the description of this broadcast. It's been nice having you. Do check out our TikTok at Footballtribeug and follow us there, and elsewhere on other platforms. It's Robert K. Circles. That's how you'll find me on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as on X or Twitter. But thank you so much for the love and support for our colleagues that manage to join us every single day in our respective broadcasts, and those that watch our uploaded content. You really, really appreciate it. Thank you to all our new subscribers. Welcome to the community. We are glad to have you, and we hope you enjoy your time with us in discussing all matters of football. Stay blessed and have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.